My name is Alex, and I'm 31 now. I always felt like the odd one out in my dad's second family. That's the vibe I got anyway. I came from his first marriage. My mom died when I was 10, and by the time I was 12, he was married to Denise, my stepmom, and they had 2 kids together. On the outside, we looked like any other blended family. But on the inside, it was like living in a house where there were rooms I wasn't supposed to go in. My stepmom always plastered a fake smile on her face for me, but it never reached her eyes. My half-brother, Ryan, who's 2 years younger, made it crystal clear from the start that I wasn't really family. My sister, Ellie, usually did what he did, though there were times when she seemed like she wanted to connect. But then Denise would look over, and bam, Ellie would turn cold again. I spent my teen years learning how to be invisible in that house. My dad, he wasn't mean, but he was just there. If Denise didn't want me involved, he'd go along with it. If Ryan went too far, he'd just sigh and say something like, "Let's keep the peace." I learned that if I wanted to belong, I had to earn it, so that's what I did. I got good grades, paid for college with scholarships and odd jobs. And when I was done with school, I got a good job in tech. When COVID hit, I helped everyone in the family with their home Wi-Fi, got them set up on Zoom, and even fixed up Ryan's resume so he could get a remote job. I never got a single thank you. Honestly, I wasn't really holding my breath, but there was this tiny, stubborn part of me that kept hoping. Like if I just did enough, if I was always there, always helpful, maybe they'd finally notice me. Maybe I'd stop feeling like that blurry figure at the edge of the family portrait, you know? So, Easter comes around this year, and Denise shoots a text in the family group chat, asking if I could help get things organized. I didn't even hesitate, just said yes. She made it sound so offhand, like she wasn't basically dumping half the holiday on my plate. "Could you tidy up the house a little before everyone gets here? Would you mind checking in with the caterer? Oh, and the kids just loved that egg hunt you put together last year." It wasn't a request, really. It felt more like, well, my usual unspoken job, but still, I agreed. I even booked the caterer myself and paid the deposit, almost $700. Denise said she'd Venmo me, but surprise, surprise, she didn't. I got there early and cleaned the whole place, scrubbed the guest bathroom, set up all the folding chairs, even ironed the darn tablecloths because Denise had mentioned they looked wrinkled in last year's pictures. I was running around like crazy while they were getting their nails done and buying matching Easter outfits at the mall. By the time everyone showed up, I was wiped, but I plastered a smile on my face anyway. I even put on a nice button-down and those shoes that kill my feet because I knew they looked good in pictures. I helped the kids with the egg hunt, passed out baskets, and made sure everyone got enough candy so there wouldn't be any meltdowns. From the patio, I watched with a mimosa, while Dad manned the grill and zoned out to Ryan's usual rant about crypto, his fancy new car, and how working a normal job was for chumps. I kept smiling, you know? Dinner was a buffet. I kept the food lines moving, topped off everyone's drinks, and helped Ellie carry a tray when she said her wrists were hurting. But once I finally sat down, barely touching my food, Ryan looked up from the ham and gave me this smirk and just said, "Funny how you think any of this makes you one of us." He chuckled like it was a joke, but no one else did. Dad kept slicing the ham like he hadn't heard a thing. Denise didn't even look up. Ellie gave me a quick glance, then looked away. And that's when I just broke, not a big scene, not anything dramatic. It was more like a silent snap, like a thread coming loose from a button. I didn't cry, I didn't yell. I just sat there, staring at my plate, at the roast potatoes I'd helped arrange that morning in this perfect spiral. And then I quietly laughed. Not at anything in particular, just the sheer absurdity of it all, that I'd spent over a decade trying to belong at a table that was never meant for me. So, I stood up. Nobody noticed right away. I walked into the hallway, grabbed my laptop bag from the coat closet. I'd brought it, thinking I might need to jump on a work call, but now it was for something else. I went out to my car and popped the trunk. There was a folder, all neat and organized, with receipts, copies of contracts, and bank statements. I grabbed it. Then I went back inside. I walked right past the dining room table, Denise and her fancy centerpiece, Ryan with that annoying smirk on his face. Didn't say a word. I headed straight for the fuse box by the laundry room and flipped the breakers for the kitchen, the outside lights, and the entertainment system. After that, I walked out the front door and started taking back everything with my name on it. I took my time. I wanted to feel it. Every single step, every second of getting my stuff back. It wasn't about revenge, not yet. It was about getting some clarity. You know, that feeling you get when you finally stop trying to win someone over and start looking out for yourself. I opened the trunk again and pulled out a list I'd printed ages ago, a list I never thought I'd actually use. Unless they pushed me too far, which Ryan totally did with just one stupid sentence. First thing on the list, the patio heater. I got it last Christmas because Dad said Denise always froze her butt off at those patio dinners. I used that little wrench I keep in my car's emergency kit to disconnect the gas line, carefully rolled it to my car, and loaded it in the trunk. I heard the back gate creak open. It was Ellie. "Alex," she whispered, all quiet and worried. "What are you doing?" I kept right on going, getting my stuff. She took a step closer, kind of hesitant. "Wait," she said. "Are you okay?" Seriously, that was just Ryan being Ryan. I stopped what I was doing and looked right at her. "You thought it was funny last time, didn't you? He told me I should be happy Dad didn't send me away to Mom's side of the family. You didn't say a word then, either." Her lips parted a little, but she didn't say anything. I wasn't really mad at her, not at all. I think she wanted to be a good person, once upon a time. But being a good person in that house meant being different. And being different wasn't safe. Not if you were one of Denise's kids. She just backed away without a sound. I went back to my stuff. The surround sound speakers were next. I put those in myself last summer. I spent 2 whole days feeding wires through the walls while Ryan sat in the house whining that I was making too much noise. He still went around telling all his buddies how his setup was better than a real movie theater. I disconnected every wire, rolled them up neatly, and put the speakers back in the boxes I kept in the garage. I paid for them and I put them in so they were mine. The security system was easy. I was the one paying for it. I had the admin password and I put in all the cameras. One tap on my phone and the whole network was down. Every camera blinked twice and then went dark. I deleted all the old video files while I was at it, just to be safe. That's when Dad finally figured out something was up. I heard the front door open. He came outside slowly, holding a half-eaten roll in his hand like he'd forgotten he was still eating. "Alex, what's going on?" I didn't turn around right away. I was winding up the garden hose I'd bought because, surprise, the one here had been leaking for ages and nobody ever bothered to fix it. As I gathered up my stuff, I said it out loud, not even looking at him. "I guess it's time I stop acting like I'm welcome here." He just stood there, quiet. Then that familiar sigh, the one he always gave when he didn't want to deal with something. "This isn't necessary. Let's not make a scene." I stood up straight and turned to him. "You think this is a scene? What Ryan said back there, that wasn't a scene. What Denise does to me, year after year, that's not a scene. You've just stood there while she's cut me out of family pictures, forgot my birthday, told the caterer I wasn't invited to my own birthday party, and you haven't said a word. So no, Dad, this is me finally saying something." He didn't reply, just stared at me like I was being dramatic, like I was the issue. I gave him a little smile. "Don't worry, I'm not going to yell. I'm not going to break anything. I'm just going to take what's mine and then I'm out." And I meant it. Over the next hour, I took down the patio lights I gave them for Easter, pulled the fancy smart TV off the living room wall Denise wanted something modern, and took the generator I bought during the power outage last year. Everything I paid for, every little thing they'd gotten used to having without ever even saying thanks. Ellie never showed her face again. Ryan didn't even pretend to help Denise. I was stuck at the kitchen window, arms crossed, my face probably a blank slate. I didn't look mad, more like annoyed, you know? Like I was interrupting her cooking. After I crammed everything into the car, I popped the trunk and tossed in one last box. It was that Easter centerpiece I'd made all wood and hand-painted eggs. Denise had gushed about it to a neighbor, called it charming, then told me not to bring anything so rustic next time. I took it anyway. I didn't leave a single thing behind with my mark on it. As I slammed the trunk and hopped in, the front door opened again. This time it was Ryan. He didn't shout or sneer. He just leaned on the porch railing, soda in hand, and casually said, "You really think anyone's gonna miss you?" I cracked the window just a bit and stared him right in the eyes. "No," I said, "but they'll miss what I brought." Then I pulled away, watching the house get smaller and smaller in the rearview mirror. That house, the one I thought was my home. The one that took so much from me and gave so little back. But what happened after I drove off? That's the part nobody saw coming. That's when the real craziness started. 3 days, exactly 3 days, and the first message popped up. Not Ryan, not even my dad, but Denise. It was a text, short and sweet, or rather, short and icy. "Hey, just noticed the thermostat's down. Can you check it? The house is freezing." I didn't answer, so I just took a screenshot of the message, tucked it away, and went about my business. What Denise and the others didn't get, what they totally missed, was everything I was handling in that place. The smart thermostat, registered to me. The app they used to change the temperature. Yeah, that was licensed through my account. I set up the whole Wi-Fi mesh system, connected all the devices, and made sure their router was always updated. Every time Ryan would go on and on about how modern and easy their home was, he was actually talking about all the work I'd put in and the money I'd spent. Later that day, my phone went off again. This time it was Ellie. She texted, "Hey, not sure what's happening, but none of the TVs are working. Did you cancel something?" I thought about answering. Ellie was the only one who ever really came close to treating me like a human being. But I remembered all the times she looked away when Denise would say mean things, and how she'd nervously laugh but still laugh when Ryan said something awful. I didn't owe her anything, so I logged into my streaming accounts Netflix, Hulu, Prime, and clicked the sign out of all devices button on all of them. I changed the passwords and added two-factor authentication. The next morning, the group chat exploded. Dad texted Alex, "Is there a reason all the lights in the house are flickering, bro? What is this? My Xbox won't connect. Did you mess with the Wi-Fi?" Denise texted. "This is really immature. You're making a point. We get it. You can stop now." I didn't reply. Not yet, anyway. I couldn't bring myself to say anything. So I did something else entirely. I rang up the contractor who'd put in my backup generator last year, a killer $5,000, by the way, that I slowly paid off on my credit card. They hadn't lifted a finger to help, not even after that December blackout when the whole street was dark except for their house, and I never even got a thanks. I told the guy I was moving and needed the generator shifted to my new place. "No problem," he said. He could send someone out by Friday. They were still texting when the electrician rolled up. Ryan tried to stop him, yelling at the guy, "You can't just take that. This is our house." But the paperwork, my name on the receipt, my address on the contract, it was all perfectly legal. There he was, standing in the driveway, screaming at a guy with a clipboard while they carefully unhooked and loaded my generator onto a truck. Seeing him there, acting like a kid whose toy had been taken away, it was almost funny. That night, I finally texted the group chat. At 11:47 p.m. sharp. "Don't worry," it said. "I'm just doing what you all taught me, taking care of what's mine." Then I muted the whole thing, but the drama certainly wasn't over. A week went by. I threw myself into work. I got new furniture, spruced up the place, and finally bought that espresso machine I'd been wanting. Things felt calmer, easier. Then, out of the blue, my dad called. I just stared at my phone, not knowing what to do. He never called me directly. It was always Denise or Ellie handling all the family stuff. Still, I picked up the phone, mostly just to see what was up. "Alex," he said after a beat, "we need to talk." His voice was off. Not yelling, not ordering me around, just worn out. "About what?" I asked. "I didn't realize how much you were doing for everyone," he said, real slow. "I guess I let things go I shouldn't have." I didn't say anything, just let the silence hang there. Then he went on, "I was hoping, could you at least send the new Wi-Fi password? Ryan's been having trouble with his work from home stuff." I chuckled, a small, quiet laugh. It wasn't mean, it was almost funny. "I'm not your IT guy, Dad," I told him. "I was your son, though." Apparently, that didn't mean a whole lot. He didn't know what to say. I could tell by the way he kind of caught his breath. "Is this really how you want to do this?" he asked. "No," I said, "but it's how you've done things for years." Then I hung up. That night I started going through my accounts. Bills, insurance, everything. One by one, I took my card off everything linked to their place. The water bill, gone. The electricity. Auto pay, canceled. I left them with the basic plans. No breaks, no extras. Let them call and wait on hold for hours like everyone else. I figured that would be the end of it. But 2 days later, I got something in the mail. Not an email, an actual letter. Thick envelope, my name in that fancy cursive. There was a note folded up in my dad's writing. It started, "Alex," and went on, "I know I haven't been the father you needed." I couldn't read the rest right then. I just sat there, holding it, thinking about all those years I'd poured into trying to win their approval, of family that never, ever seemed to meet me halfway. I was about to ball it up and throw the whole thing away when I saw something else behind the letter. A check. For $700, exactly what I'd paid for Easter dinner. I just stared. That's when it hit me. They were terrified. Not just worried about losing stuff, not just annoyed by the hassle. They were scared stiff because, for the first time, I'd stopped trying to get their attention. I'd finally shown them what it feels like to be ignored. I sat there a long time with that check in my hand. It wasn't about the money, not really. $700 wasn't even a drop in the bucket compared to what I'd shelled out over the years. All the holidays, the tech stuff, furniture, the bills, you name it. But seeing it there, written out so neatly by my dad, made me stop and think. It was the first time anyone in that house had ever even tried to pay me back. Not a hug, not an I'm sorry. Just a transaction. A number on a piece of paper. It felt so cold, but it also showed me something. I finally knew exactly what I was worth to them. $700. Not a penny more. I didn't cash it. So instead of doing anything else, I went to my kitchen drawer, grabbed an old envelope, and slipped the check inside with the unopened letter. Then I stashed it with my tax stuff. Not because I was all sentimental, but because I wanted something to look at, something real that showed how far I'd gotten and that I wouldn't go back. The next week, Ellie called. I didn't answer at first, let it go to voicemail. She tried again the next day and then the day after that. On the fourth call, I finally picked up. Her voice was all soft, like she was scared to even talk to me. Hey, I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. I didn't say anything, not yet. I wanted to hear what she thought everything meant. I didn't stick up for you. I let Ryan talk to you like that. I let Mom treat you like a helper. I always knew it was messed up, but I told myself it wasn't my problem, that it was easier to just keep quiet. But I saw how they were after you left, Alex. It was like something broke open. Everything felt raw, quiet. Even Ryan shut up. Still, I didn't say anything. I read your old message again, she said, the one in the group chat. The one where you said you were just doing what they taught you, taking care of what's yours. I think that hit harder than you thought. It wasn't meant to be some deep thing, I finally said. It was just the truth, she sighed. Yeah, that's what stung. There was a long silence then, not uncomfortable, just real. Then she dropped the bomb, they're thinking about selling the house. That made me sit up straight. What? Yeah, she said. Dad thinks it's too much hassle to keep up with. The heat is busted, stuff outside is broken, and well, Denise is mortified. She had some friends over last week, and the lights went out during lunch. Ryan lost a job because the internet cut out during a call. So I said, slow and careful, now that things are a pain, they want to bail. She didn't fight me on it. They don't even get it wasn't the things I took that messed up the house, I added. It was the actual structure. I know, she whispered. That's why I'm not calling them. There was a silence, and then she said something that kind of shocked me. I want to stay in touch. I'm over Denise's side of the family. I miss my brother, my real brother. That hit me right in the gut, harder than I thought it would, because for so long it felt like I was screaming into nothing. Here was someone on the other side, finally talking back. Show me, I said softly. Not with words, with actual actions. I will, she promised. And you know what? She did. Ellie started dropping by once a week. Sometimes she'd bring food. Other times we just hung out and talked. We kept it casual at first. Workbooks, whatever was on TV. But slowly we got into some real stuff. She started telling me how hard it was to grow up being the perfect daughter, just like Denise, and how tiring it was to act like all the craziness was normal. The guilt would hit me every time I chuckled at Ryan's stupid jokes, just so I wouldn't be his next punching bag. I confessed to her that I spent a huge chunk of my 20s convinced I had to constantly prove myself worthy of love. I mean, every time I bought them something, fixed a leak, or covered a bill, I secretly wished this would be the thing that finally made me feel like I belonged. And eventually, I had to walk away to understand I didn't have to earn a damn thing. I was already okay, just as I was. Meanwhile, the rest of the family, they stayed pretty much the same. Denise kept putting up those perfect, filtered pictures on Facebook, acting like everything was perfect. She told her friends I was just going through something. Ryan tossed out a few digs online about ungrateful siblings and drama queens, but he knew better than to tag me. My dad called a few times. I let it go to voicemail. Sometimes he'd leave these long, rambling messages. Other times, just a quiet, "Hope you're doing okay, son." I listened to them, but I never called back. I needed more than voicemails and money to make up for all those years of silence. About 2 months after Easter, I got an email from my old electrician, the same guy who took out the generator. He told me a realtor had reached out to him, wanting to install a new one at the house. "They're getting it ready to sell," he said. "Thought you might want to know." And I did. So one afternoon, I drove over, just parked across the street. The house looked smaller somehow. The yard was a mess, and the patio furniture was all faded and stained. A gust of wind had toppled one of my garden gnomes. Nobody even bothered to put it upright again. A for sale sign was stuck in the yard with a smaller one underneath. Price reduced, motivated seller. I just stood there looking at it for ages. It wasn't anger, you know. It was like, I finally got it. That house hadn't felt like home in years. Not for me anyway, and probably not for anyone else. It was just a backdrop, and I'd finally walked away. Time went by. Ellie and I got really close. We started going on hikes, sharing music, we even planned a whole weekend getaway. Real memories, you know? No fancy stuff, no pretending, just us two, building something real. Finally, I pulled that check out of the drawer. I didn't spend it. I framed it. It hangs over my desk now. It's not a trophy or anything, it's just a reminder. The best payment I ever got wasn't money. It was freedom. Freedom from needing their approval, from always trying to win their love, from pretending to be someone I wasn't just to fit in. And standing here, in my own place, with my own life, surrounded by things I picked out and people who actually like me, I realized the family I always wanted wasn't the one I was born into. It was the one I made, after I stopped trying so hard to belong. And that's worth way more than $700.